Digital Radio Network.
Want to go out to a movie? Or maybe watch a movie at home, but you can't decide on what to watch? Head on over to freemovieinformation.com. The movie trailers and descriptions for thousands of movies, both current and older, are all in one place. freemovieinformation.com. Thousands of movie trailers, one location. freemovieinformation.com.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the All Digital Radio Network. Whether you're a brand new listener or a longtime fan, you've probably noticed that we have quite a lineup. Do you have a business, an organization, or a group that needs global exposure? Have you been priced out of the traditional radio market, or are you seeking a new, innovative way to reach your customer base in this advanced digital age? Radio advertising is one of the most inexpensive and effective ways to get your message out to the mass public. We have advertising packages for almost any budget with the same quality you've come to expect from the All Digital Radio Network. Give us a call today at 312-324-0180, or you can email us at advertising@alldigitalradio.com. Let the All Digital Radio Network broadcast your business message to the world crystal clear.
Did you know that the federal government gives away over $400 billion in grants each year to private citizens like you? Go to findthegrant.com. These programs require no credit check, no collateral, no cosigner. What you need is the correct information found at findthegrant.com. If you're a U.S. taxpayer, you are entitled to your slice. Get the information to get started today. www.findthegrant.com.
You are listening to the All Digital Radio Network.
The virus has completely devastated over 150 of the world's major regions and is spreading rapidly. At this point in time, we know of only one method of killing the creatures, going to destroy the brain. Be on the guard of any loved ones who may have recently been in any sort of contact with the infected. And if you find yourself in a threatening position, please do not hesitate to act. Again, because this is not a test. This is not a joke. We as a species are overwhelmed. We are outnumbered.
Walker Wednesday starts now.
Oh my God, they're everywhere.
And here we go. Welcome to Walker Wednesday, your Walking Dead fan talk experience. We're an experience now. Did you know that? I bought the upgrade. It came with a free pack of popcorn, too. Joining me tonight, right here on Walker Wednesday, we have none other than Wendy King, all the way from Georgia.
Hey, everybody.
We also have Mr. CB Snow, who's under a ton of snow right now.
Yep, I'm here, still shoveling.
Man, shoveling the roof this week, aren't you?
Yeah. We have frost quakes.
What?
It's when the heat rising up to your roof hits the cold air coming down, because we were at about minus 13 the other night, and you can hear these. It sounds like somebody threw a dead cat against your house.
Xena wouldn't let that happen.
No, but I mean, you just hear this loud bang, and they're called frost quakes.
And for those of you that don't know who Xena is, there is an actual warrior princess who is an animal control officer in the surrounding areas around where CB lives.
And we are safe because of her.
And she's not afraid of no frostquake. Also with us tonight, Miss Beatrice Rodriguez Prada.
Hi, everyone.
She's going to be in the walkie-talkie box. And I never told anybody what we called that thing. It's the walkie-talkie box if you're there right now. And she's going to be looking out for your questions, because we had some questions last week, and we were all busy talking and didn't pay no attention. So what are we going to talk about tonight? It is The Walking Dead 511. That's Season 5, Episode 11, called The Distance. And the opening scene, we basically had Maggie and Sasha brought in Aaron. And let's stop real quick, because I know not everybody here is a fan of the comic book, and you're watching the show. What did all of you think of Aaron? Start out with Wendy.
too clean cut and clean shaven. And it was just such a juxtaposition between him and these these guys that are just tattered and battered and dirty. And so immediately I'm suspect of him.
You don't like anybody clean cut?
Well, not in the zombie apocalypse.
Is that why you cruise truck stops at 4 o'clock in the morning?
That's right. You find him there, yeah. But he, and to me, still just, he's a little too friendly, a little too, so I'm suspicious of him. And just, disregarding the comic books and all, I'd be very suspicious of him.
You don't like Aaron?
Right.
What about you, CB? What'd you think?
I thought from the moment that I saw him that he was gay, and I did not know this from the comic book because I haven't read the comic book, but I assumed he was gay. And he must have been so obviously gay because, just to relate a personal story, my divorce attorney, I found out a year into the case, was gay. And my significant other at the time had never met him, and I just described him to her, and she said at that point she knew he was gay. I have absolutely no gaydar whatsoever, and I knew this guy was gay.
Oh, wow.
I didn't do any research. I don't know if the actor who plays Aaron is homosexual or not, but we did get a little bit of a tease during the last Talking Dead before the mid-season break that they would be introducing a homosexual character soon. And I guess now is soon.
That was pretty soon.
And those of you that, we'll tease a little bit. So if you haven't read the comic book, you may not want to hear me talk about Aaron because I'm going to tell you a little bit later exactly who Aaron is and how he fits into the whole scheme of things. But right now we just got Maggie. And it was kind of funny. Maggie just walks him in and says, "Hey, I want y'all to meet Aaron." Everybody jumps up.
Here's my new friend.
Not knowing if she's got a gun to her head or what.
And did you see Daryl? Daryl makes a beeline for the barn door, and he's checking around. Frisk turns around real quick and frisks him. Aims his bow outside. I mean, Daryl was right on top of it.
I love what Rick said. Is there something you need?
I love the expression on Rick's face because Aaron's led in, and Rick has the baby in one hand and that gun in his other hand, and the baby starts to cry, and Rick's looking at him like, "You made the baby cry."
Yeah, Judith don't like him. That's a bad sign right there.
That is a bad sign. Yep.
That is a bad sign. Yeah,
we find out what happens when you make the baby cry.
What happens? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll get to that in just a second. But
yep.
Really, what brought this into focus for me, as far as the overview of the story writers, we spent the last two episodes with them, basically exploring their own souls. They're fighting with each other, not fighting, but they're bickering with each other. Their attitudes are clashing. They're soul searching. Every single one of them is trying to come to terms with, guilt and still being alive when so many people are dead. And then all of a sudden a stranger walks in and it's zip. They just go right into one big bounded community and they're in defense mode. That's what really got me.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
They all just dropped all their differences and came together just like that.
Well, they've had so much tragedy that's occurred when they've run into outside groups, and it's never ended well.
Yeah, well, they've got that to go on because anytime they've ever, even the guys in the bar when they went to look for Herschel, they tried to kill him. Mm-hmm. The Claimers, they tried to kill him. Even though they took Daryl in, they tried to kill Rick. Well, Rick did kill one of them, but he didn't want to. Anytime they've come across small groups or big groups, it's never really ended well. In fact, the last few people they had actually let in were some that they actually went out and recruited for the prison. But Aaron, I don't know if humor is the way to go in the apocalypse.
Right.
He comes in, and Sasha says he wants us to audition for his camp. No, community.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he got don't call his community a camp.
Yeah.
He don't like that. But Aaron jokes that there's not really an audition except for the Friday night dances, and we saw that on the Talking Today. They took a poll. What are your Friday night dance choices? The Daryl and Rick dance off.
That one.
Yeah, Funky Fresh Prince of Eugene or some. I forget the other ones, but
nobody's laughing.
Oh no!
It's like he's trying to joke around.
You couldn't cut the tension with a knife after what they've been through. And he shows his pictures and gives his pitch, and then he starts. Oh, I apologize that the camera was not. And I love Daryl. Daryl just cuts him off. Who gives a shit? 2 lines all episode for Daryl, and he says shit in both of them.
Yeah, nobody's buying the pictures.
But then every week we have a dramatic opening scene, and this one, comes right after Rick punches him out. And this is something to do with the comic book, because we're seeing Aaron, and Aaron is a character in the comic book. Everybody who reads the comic book knows that Aaron is basically eventually going to be Rick's right hand. I mean, there won't be a Glenn in a little while if they follow the comic book. There never was a Daryl in the comic book. There won't be a Michonne, probably as tight as they are now in the comic book. And Aaron kind of takes that spot in the comic book. But there's another thing in the comic book that's really visual. Rick doesn't have a right hand to punch anybody with. So I think the writers were sending a message by having Rick knock him out with his right hand.
Because in the comic books, he has he's
got a hook or whatever, something, in place, because the governor chopped off his hand and fed it to his daughter. So, is there hidden meaning? Are the writers actually telling us, hey, we know what the comic book says? Yeah, but Rick...
Maybe. I think it's more that Aaron, shut up.
But we got our opening scene out of the way.
And he did make the baby cry.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I was going to talk about this.
The thing is, Locke, you have no children, but Wendy, you have kids, right?
Yep.
And right after you got your kids to sleep, if somebody came in and made the baby cry, what would you do?
Yeah, I'd want to kill somebody.
That's what I mean. I think that's the entire hidden meaning there, Locke.
But I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but since you guys are fixated on Judith right now, I want to bring something up. First of all, that baby is getting fat for being in a starving apocalypse.
Oh, yes.
Her legs are chubby. She's crying. She looks nothing like Rick. She looks nothing like Shane. She looks exactly like Daryl.
Oh.
Has anybody else noticed that?
Yeah, I did notice she doesn't look anything like Rick or Shane, because I was...
Looks like Daryl. I mean, we all know Lloyd was a hoe.
Yeah, and Judith, she's got to be starving to death. I mean, seriously.
With them pudgy little legs?
What they fed her, well, I know that's...
Judith is going to get fed more than anybody else.
Yeah,
that's just true. A given. They probably save water just for her. And
who's carrying the diapers?
That's a good question.
And she's getting big. I mean, she'll be walking soon. I'm not sure exactly how old she is right now, but God, can you imagine a toddler with the zombie apocalypse? She's like wandering off, and
we always get into this with all types of television shows. Where do they do their business? I mean, where are the tampons at? Where are the bathrooms on the USS Enterprise? Where we never see anybody go take a poop in the woods.
Do they have any change of clothes? I mean, they must smell horrible by now. Are they brushing their teeth?
It rains every once in a while.
Oh yeah.
Oh, seriously. I mean, it rains every once in a while. They do run into bodies of water. I would assume at that point they, throw either themselves or their clothes in there. Not too often, but maybe once a month.
And they'll probably find changes of clothes more than they'll find food at this point. You never know. You're not going to find any weapons anywhere. They've all been ransacked. No bullets. But you might find, a stray shirt like Michonne found a couple episodes ago when she took a frame shirt that was probably signed by Mickey Mantle, and now she's out wearing it in the woods.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a big Mickey Mantle fan. So that's okay with me. But speaking of Michonne, after Rick punches out Mr. Aaron, she gets right up in his face. That look wasn't punch his butt out. That look was, let's hear him out, because she's been looking for a safe place for a long time. Then they find the flare gun. That sends a signal right there that he's got somebody out there waiting for him. Mm-hmm. And then we get into the talk that we saw in the preview. And, for somewhat I can respect Aaron because he just over-articulates everything. He's like answering questions that they haven't even asked yet.
Well, he's probably worried about getting killed.
It could be nervous talk, but it doesn't seem like nervous talk.
Yeah, but he's been through this before, according to the story that he told. And he hasn't gotten killed yet. But I think that's always in the back of his mind, that somebody here will just say, screw this guy, and boom, there he goes.
Well, that might be why they watch and listen for so long, to see what type of group it is.
Yeah, but if you listen to that group over the past, say, 2 weeks or whatever it's been covered by the last 2 shows, you wouldn't think that they'd just as soon, knock your head off as say hello.
They actually hinted later in the show that he had heard intricate conversations with that little parabolic microphone that they found later. Even Glenn...
where do they find a Brookstone around there? Well, what's that magazine you get in the airplane that's going out of business?
Oh, no.
Sky something? Sky Mall?
Something, yeah.
Yeah, Sky Mall, isn't it?
Sky Mall, yeah.
Yeah, where do you find Sky Mall?
The flight attendant doesn't know what Sky Mall is.
Yep.
And I love what Rick says, after he comes to. He says, hard to trust a guy who smiles after you punch him in the face.
Yeah.
He's got a good point.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows how closely they watch the group or how much they get into it. And right before, something really interesting, especially if you follow the comic book, right before he gets knocked out, he starts to say, and our community was founded by, and that's a big thing you always hear him talk about, where is the Alexandria Free Zone? It was founded by a guy who ended up going overboard, kind of like the governor, but they put him down, and that was a big story, and I guess they'll get into that a little bit later.
And his name was Alexander.
I think so. But now they might not, they may not go strictly with the comic, and it might be referring to Alexandria, Virginia at this point.
Well, they were on their way to Washington.
Yeah.
And so they would have to pass close to Alexandria.
Exactly.
So, it makes sense that that it is in Alexandria.
Could be. I believe in the comic book, though, there was a man named Alexandria, but it could have been in Alexandria as well, and that's where they got their name. But you never even see his character in the comic. You just see his gravestone because they took care of him before Rick actually got there. And you hear Rick hinting about, because Aaron asked him, if it's not words and it's not pictures, what's it going to take to convince you? And you always see his wheels turning in his head. Mm-hmm. And Michonne stands up to Rick again. They want to check out where the cars are nearby. And Aaron's got an excuse for everything, doesn't he?
He does.
He came in 2 cars.
Yeah.
License plates and picking daisies. But then you get Rick and Judith and Aaron alone in the barn. And, Aaron's still trying to put that. You're not going to psych Rick out. Rick was a cop. Because he's heard every story you can hear before all this happened. And then all the crap he's gone through, almost being eaten alive at Terminus and almost getting his hand chopped off at Woodbury. And now he's in there and he's trying to feed Judith, and the whole applesauce gang clicks in.
Yeah, well, the applesauce thing, I think, was a little too drawn out. I mean, you're handcuffed to this pole with a guy who just as soon kill you as look at you, and you're not going to sample the applesauce. I don't care what my mother did to me. I would eat the darn applesauce.
And for those that don't know Aaron from the comic books, this is your first hint that he was homosexual because his mother tried to convert him back to a heterosexual by making him man up and eat onions and salmon patties. I don't know what's wrong with salmon patties. And I don't know what's wrong with applesauce. I like applesauce.
Yeah. But he did not like the applesauce. And you can shoot me. I'd rather you shoot me than me eat applesauce.
No, just eat the applesauce.
Yeah.
It's just a tiny little bit on the spoon.
Why would I poison your daughter? You're already going to kill me. Maybe you'll just get her sick. Then I'll have to do what you say to get her better. Eat the applesauce. Oh, boy.
Yeah, but that's before. What was he about to feed Judith? It was like acorns or something.
It was ground up acorns. He was grinding up acorns with the butt of his gun, I think.
Oh, gosh. Poor Judith. That can't be good. She's a squirrel. I mean,
yeah.
Acorns.
I wish I could have gotten away with feeding my kids acorns. Would have had a hell of a lot cheaper when I was younger.
Oh. And who makes the applesauce anyway? Just because they got apple trees, why they got to have applesauce?
Because he brought it for the baby, because that's what babies eat. Babies eat applesauce.
He didn't know he was going to find the baby when he left.
Yes, he did. They've been following this group for how long?
But they left their community and spotted them and followed them around. They implied that they hadn't been back to. They had not gone back and forth to Alexandria. They'd have never found them again. They've been tailing them for at least as long as they've been in Virginia.
Well,
I mean, they probably had the applesauce. They probably had that RV stocked with food. And then once they started following them, saw that there was a baby involved, he put applesauce in the backpack.
Well, he did say we take applesauce everywhere to prove we have apple trees. Because apparently apple trees is a big selling point in the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where do we go now? Oh, Glenn, did anybody get this? Because I really didn't. I kind of noticed it when I was watching the show, but then I saw it again on The Talking Dead when they're all walking, and that was Glenn, Maggie, Michonne, Abe, and Rosita when they're trying to get to the RV. Glenn says, "You see anybody, just shoot them."
Yeah, he was trying to beat Rick.
What, really? Why would you do that? And they're all just like, every theory's got,
Did you ever see Despicable Me?
No, I did not.
No.
Okay. Well, there's a scene in Despicable Me where the bad guy is talking to three little girls, and they're in his house, and he says, "Now don't touch anything." And one of the little girls looks at him and says, "Can we touch the floor?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, you can touch the floor." "Can we touch the air?" And he finally gives up at that point, and that's exactly what I thought of when I was watching Glenn there saying, "Well, shoot anybody." Well, what if there's one person and they want help? Well, I guess you could let them go. What if it's somebody we know? Well, I guess you could let them. Just on and on, and then finally just gives up.
Right. Not such a good idea.
Glenn was trying to rationalize it. I wouldn't trust us. If I was following us, I was listening to us, I wouldn't trust us. And Michonne comes right back at him and said, "Look at all the good things we've done. Why wouldn't you trust us? We're not that bad. We're not termites that eat people's legs and make them watch." Real quick in the Dirt Box, someone asked, what's up with all the license plates? And they did let it be known that Aaron and his significant other collect a license plate. They're going to make a mural in their home. And we'll get to the significance of him blurting that out a little bit later, but they're actually collecting them. It's just like a little hobby. I guess you got to stay active in the apocalypse, or you just get eaten. But we get to the what is this? Glenn, Maggie, Michonne, Abe, Rosita find the RVs, and a few walkers pop out. Walkers pop out just for dramatic purpose at this point. I'm pretty much convinced of it.
Well, no, I think they look at a stopwatch. We haven't chopped anybody's head off in 7.5 minutes. Whack.
But they've got to heal the rift between Abe and Rosita now. Abraham and Rosita.
Yeah.
And Abe takes a swing. He misses. Rosita's got to save his butt. And then they have a little bit more of a touching moment when they're inside the RV, reminiscing over Sketty rings, which is, I guess,
SpaghettiOs.
which is why you don't get sued by Spaghetti-O. You say Sketty rings.
That's right. And they talked about somebody eating 4 cans of spaghetti rings.
Sketty.
Sketty rings, sorry. And
that
I
was
guess
in Talking Dead.
Okay, and I guess we'll find out more about that.
No, that was the previous group. They hint about the group that...
the previous group that ate
Eugene found Abe, and then Abe got hooked up with as many as 5 or 6 other people who all died trying to get Eugene to D.C. that never even made it to Georgia. These people all died, got ambushed or whatever. And that was one of the guys that was in their group.
Okay.
Never seen, but mentioned in passing.
Okay.
But then, they kind of, they don't kiss, but they kind of make up. Well, they were doing a whole lot more than kissing in the first half of the season. And Eugene likes to watch, apparently.
Yeah. Well, they're in the library that time, and Eugene's peering from behind That was funny.
And Eugene's just creepy. I'm glad that one little girl the creepy little girl didn't make it to see Eugene. That would have been bad. Creepy on creepy. But I guess they go back to the barn. They got the caddy, they got the RV, and Rick still being a dick. This food is ours now, even if we don't go to your camp. It's the community, even if we don't go to your camp. And that sparks a little discussion. I mean, Carl's the first one to say, why wouldn't we go? Yeah, why wouldn't we go? What do you mean? Rick has no control over this group whatsoever.
Not anymore.
I don't think he ever did. Now that I'm looking back,
I think he did. I think it's just that people are no longer acquiescing to what it is that he wants to do. Michonne, in this particular episode, the two of them are butting heads, and she's saying, "Hey, let's try this."
Everybody butts heads with Rick. It's like Rick's never been the man. He's always the one that's supposed to be the man that somebody else butts heads with. Abe gave him hell. Carol gave him hell. I think Daryl's the only one pretty much hadn't gave him hell.
Yeah.
But, like I said, they clash again, and they kind of look around. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And here comes Daryl with his second line of the whole show. This barn smells like horse shit.
So that's Daryl's input on the on the trip.
Yeah, that's let's go.
Yeah.
That's Daryl speak for let's go.
Puts it all in perspective. And then they got we'll go down Route 16. No, we're going down Route 23. No, Route 16 is better. We've cleared it. And, this is... why would you follow Rick if he always leads you down this path?
Well, the thing is, something's coming when they said that they'd cleared Route 16.
Right.
So you knew something was going to happen on Route 23.
Oh yeah,
I had to look up
for
Route
the show,
16 and Route
for the show
23.
especially. But you know why it made Rick suspicious? Because now he just can't trust. He doesn't want to trust this guy at all because he's been burned too many times. And they go down Route 23, and we see the license plate collection, and they just need Indiana. Oh, by the way, I was number 2. Number 3 and number 2 on the Talking Dead quiz this week.
Oh, congratulations.
I'll send y'all the link so y'all can play next week. And it said, Lock Michaels. Because I don't have one of those names like Rodder 12 or
Rodder 12.
Shot in the Head 424 or whatever. I logged in with my email, so it just had my name. But they find the license plates. And they're talking about, they only need Indiana, and that was one of the things on the quiz. And
he said Hawaii.
Yeah, really.
That's a tough one to get. Yeah.
I have seen a Hawaii license plate in North Carolina before.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen one when I used to live in Plymouth, Mass. And, once every 10 years I'd see a Hawaii license plate.
Gotta wonder what the heck their problem was taking a ferry with your car from...
I know.
That's a long... It's a
long drive
trip. Yeah, it is. It's a long flight. That's not that easy of a flight. But he's got these. He's going to make this collage in his house, and that sparks a conversation he probably didn't want to be in. Because
Michonne's like, you got a house?
You got a house? I ain't got no house. I didn't have a house before the apocalypse. Well, you got a house? Yeah, you want to see a picture? And so he's showing the pictures. Well, this is my question.
At least he didn't get punched again. Last time he showed pictures, it didn't work out so well.
Where are the people?
Yes. That's what's so suspicious to me. Where's the people? How many people are in this community? Like 3 or 4? I mean, where are the people?
That's what I'm thinking at this point. It's a depleted community.
And that's why they're out recruiting.
Yeah, with only a handful of people, and they want to look big and bad because if they bring a group of, 12 or 13 in, and there's only 3 of them, that's going to be kind of scary. But they're sitting there driving down, and Michonne's just all in this, where's the people? And then total BS answer. He comes back, oh, well, I took a picture of the group, but it underdeveloped or overdeveloped.
That's, no, not buying it.
Yeah, Michonne's been on his side the whole time. And even though Rick was tearing the car apart earlier, he doesn't find the big parabolic microphone until they're driving down the road.
Yeah, because nobody would look in the glove compartment.
Right.
And he just freaks out because obviously if this guy's got one, maybe the other guy's got one. And they know the plan, that they're going down Route 23 instead of Route 16. The whole thing could be a setup. And, of course, this is when the walkers have to reappear.
Which was awesome.
Gosh.
I've never seen them clog a windshield like that before.
Oh,
it's a caddy. What, they don't have any wiper fluid in a caddy? Come on.
Well, the best part was when they had the overhead shot, and you just see them weaving through it, and it reminded me of when I was a kid of playing Frogger.
They on The Talking Dead, they said it was reminiscent of Pac-Man.
No, it was definitely Frogger.
Yeah, that makes more sense. That was a good overhead shot, but what I didn't get the first time I watched it was I thought they were going down the road and they just hit them. But they hit the first one, and Glenn actually goes down a side road. Because he said if I would have slammed on brakes, the RV would have just came barreling into us because they were right behind us. So the RV keeps going down Route 23.
Oh, that's how they got separated.
And that's how they got separated.
Okay, I didn't figure that one out. Thank you.
But that's how they got separated. I have no idea where the hell Eric came from. Because he was on foot how many miles back?
Yeah.
But, like I said, Rick freaks out because, he knows their plan could be in their little covert operation could be in jeopardy. Somebody else knows it. And after they go through the Walker car wash, the car stalls out. When you get limbs in your radiator.
I hate it when that happens. I'm telling you.
Yeah. All the goo and all it was kind of nasty because because we know that stuff smells like pure sewage. We know that from past episodes. So for the characters, that couldn't have been pleasant at all. And then they all go running. They see the flare, and that freaks Aaron out because he knows the only other person that can shoot a flare off is Eric, his significant other. Mm-hmm. And he knows he's got to be in trouble, so he takes I love what he says. Okay, this is it. This is over. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
out.
over.
I'm not playing no more.
Yeah.
This isn't real life. Okay, I'm out. This is it. And puts Michonne on her butt. I mean, she went flying about 4 or 5 feet, didn't she?
Yeah.
Well, she's a little bit of a thing.
Yeah, he's got a kick.
And he's still tied up.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what it is. It's just the cop and him. They just go running off into a big pack of walkers or roamers, and they call them roamers. I don't like that at all.
Roamers. That's a new one.
And Noah.
Well, everybody wouldn't use the same term because you're dealing with isolated communities, and they would have their own words for it.
Exactly. And Noah calls them rotters. I guess because the people at Grady Memorial called them rotters.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another group that called them KIAs, and I can't remember. It didn't stand for killed in action. It stood for something else.
Yeah.
But they all get
What
separated.
about the biters? Yeah, the governor's
The
group
governor called them
biters.
biters, didn't he? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somebody else called them scratchers because they were near a old folks' home and nobody had teeth.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the big things in World War Z. They implied that the country of North Korea, every single man, woman, and child pulled out every one of their teeth before the infection, so North Korea wasn't affected by the zombie epidemic in World War Z. That was pretty odd.
Oh.
They could have just taken, like a polio shot, and they'd have been all good to go. But then we got another battle in the woods at night on Route 23 because Rick didn't.
Because Rick's a moron.
Yeah, Rick, I can see why people don't listen to Rick now. Instead of going down Route 16, it's been cleared in the morning. Rick has to. I love the little battle. You got Glenn almost gets bit, and then he finds Aaron.
And almost leaves him.
Yeah, you can see the look on his face. I mean, Glenn ain't winning no Academy Award, but you can pretty much figure out he was just like, screw this guy. Yeah, okay. Takes care of the walker. I'm not going to call them rotters or roamers or biters. They're walkers. And cuts him and says, okay, you get out of here. And that's when you really know he's listening because he had that little conversation with Rick that nobody else in the group even heard while they were walking in the previous episode. We can't do this without each other. I forget exactly how he put it. It's in my show notes.
We can make it together, but we can only make it together.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then
we'll all hang together or we'll all hang separately.
Oh, we're just going to be hung, so don't worry about that. In one vernacular or another. But then they find Rick. Well, they almost find Rick before he has to shoot a flare through. That just seems to be
was
the
awesome.
Favorite part of everybody on The Talking Dead when that walker got it right in the face with a flare.
That was awesome.
And apparently it takes a while to burn your brain because they kill him with a knife in 1 second. It took like 3 or 4 seconds for that flare just to burn his head open.
Yeah, that was great. They've got to think of more inventive ways, of course, to kill the walkers. I mean, because just a knife to the base of the skull isn't interesting anymore. So the flare gun was excellent.
Let's look about it if we were in this situation, and it's not a television show. It doesn't have to be entertaining. You got to figure an ice pick. If you can't find a katana, a battle grade katana is probably your best bet because you can puncture the skull and rip it out easy. It won't get jammed. And, someone in the dirt box has a question. How long has Aaron and Eric been following them? They said 3 weeks. They just mentioned that in passing. So I would assume it's about the time they hit Virginia. I wouldn't think they followed them from South Carolina or Georgia. But what do you think as far as weapons go? I'm going to stick with the ice pick or, a good like railroad spike that you could just jab in and jab out. Not too heavy, but heavy enough to do damage.
Yeah, I like the ice pick. Of course, I like Michonne's sword, too. Just the whole head goes.
A really sharp sword. I mean, it's something that you could use in close quarters. So maybe not the thing is, samurai normally carried 2 swords. They carried the long sword for battle, and they carried a shorter sword also. I'm thinking both of those would be good.
And you got you see a lot of the machetes around there because probably people have them to clear weeds out of their garden and so forth. Mm-hmm. A lot of machetes down in Georgia. That's probably where they picked them all up. But it's something blunt, and these skulls are cracking like you wouldn't believe. I mean, like we said that one time, it was a plastic cart that took one of the rotten walkers out.
I mean, a gun would be the easiest, but you're going to run out of ammunition and, the noise. You don't want the noise.
Can't find bullets now.
Yeah.
Good God, a Walking Dead apocalypse. You're never going to find a bullet. You can't find them at Walmart now. You got to order them for 6 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah, but you got to figure there are various sections of the country where the military tried to make a stand. And I mean, that's where you find things like tanks. So I would think you'd be able to find ammunition there, especially in deserted army bases and things like that.
Well, Rick got that grenade that he used to get out of the CDC from the tank. But then again, you've got people scavenging everything.
Sure. But, I mean, there's God only knows how many millions of rounds of ammunition the military has now.
And the worst thing, if you're stuck in an apocalypse like this and you've got to kill these walkers, there are probably 1 million decorative katanas and swords out there for every battle grade one that you'll find. Mm-hmm. So the first 1 million you grab hold of will probably shatter into 1 million pieces like glass the first time you try and take somebody's head off with it.
I'd go to a museum.
There you go. There you go, like Demolition Man. Maybe they got some artillery in there, too.
Well, the thing is that they would have all ancient weapons, which is really what you'd want to be using.
Yeah.
Whether it be a broadsword or a pike.
Even a mace.
Crack your head open. That would be good.
The Israelis had a sword, a few thousand years ago that had a curved blade and it had a really strong handle on it, which would have been excellent for killing walkers with. Mm-hmm. I can't think of the name of it though.
The scimitar?
No, not a scimitar. That's Arabic.
Yeah, more Arabic.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll think of it.
But getting back to the story, then we see Glenn, Michonne, Rick, and Aaron all find each other again, and they're following the flare. Which was Eric on top of the RV the whole damn time?
Well,
was he hiding in the bathroom?
No, but
how did Eric get there?
Yeah.
Because they were driving down the road. Even if we saw the entire ride from the cabin to where they ran into the walkers, they were driving for several minutes at 35, 40 miles an hour. He could not have caught them on foot.
Yeah, they never explained it.
That didn't make
sense.
But
they did, when they followed the flare, guess which road they had to go down? You could actually see the streets. You could actually see the route sign.
16,
it was
probably.
Route 16.
Yeah.
So that's why, Rick said, if this is your way of trying to get us to go the way you wanted us to go, no, dummy, I want you to go that way because there wasn't any walkers. And it was kind of funny. You see him walking around. All of a sudden, there's this little warehouse or little town, and there's Daryl just waiting to flag him in. All that build-up, and, they could have easily stretched this out for 4 seasons trying to find the other half of the team, but no.
Yeah.
I guess they don't want to do that again. They did that last year. Everybody down the road to Terminus. And then we see Eric, his face for the first time. We saw the back of his head peeping around a tire. Mm-hmm. We saw Eric and Aaron reunite, and then it's basically all the people that read the comics know that Eric and Aaron are a couple. And they showed it, and you've got Rick kind of looking over and seeing, I guess, them caring for each other and showing the love. Mm-hmm. And he kind of starts, his protective shield kind of starts to weaken a little bit. Mm-hmm. And Aaron goes,
we're not going to let you stay in the same room.
Yeah.
Who the hell do you think you are? And everybody's like, yeah, right.
I was brought up Christian. You can't be doing that with another man. You sleep out here. I don't know if he was doing that or just trying to keep two adversaries.
No, he was trying to keep them separate so they couldn't make any plans. And everybody was like, screw you, Rick.
Yeah, Glenn even got up there. Glenn, who got put down for trying to act like Rick earlier in the show, has got to step up and be the voice of reason. But, he's got a broken ankle and he doesn't have a gun and they told us where their camp was and blah, 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 blah. Okay, let them do it. Just put them in there. They're not going nowhere. Told them where the camp was, so they know where they're going now. And then we see them on the road. They're back in the RV the next day, and they got that little car that was outside the little place where they decided to stay that night. Replaced the caddy. All of a sudden, they can find cars everywhere. What's up with that?
Yeah.
Getting close to a major city, I suppose.
Oh, Alexandria is not a small town. So I don't know if Wendy Maris is listening in the walkie-talkie box. She lived in. She was actually a police officer in Alexandria, Virginia, for years and years and years. And I know she watches The Walking Dead, and she listens to us here a lot. And she'll probably be on the show one day when Wendy can't show up. So Alexandria is probably not a very small town, probably about 100,000 people. So you might have a good point there. But you see a little something, and you got to wonder why the writers did this. Noah and Aaron have a little coddling. You know, his bum leg that they tried to fix at Grady the best they could. And he's saying, well, you know, we have a good surgeon in Alexandria. He'll be able to take a look at you. He's that's his first attempt to sway a member of the team, which is a little suspicious to me, but, you know, we'll have to wait and see how that little plot actually plays out. But the big question I had is, you know, after the episode with the school bus, who let Abe drive?
Yep, Abe's the driver. I don't know about that.
And who let Eugene deal?
Oh, yeah, Eugene, they're playing. What are they playing? Poker?
13 wild cards.
13 wild cards, are you serious? Serious as two dogs copulating. And then, of course, the RV breaks down. And I kind of didn't pay attention to this when I first saw it. I paid more attention to The Talking Dead, and I went back and rewatched the show. But this was a great way to pay homage to Dale.
Oh, I caught that immediately. Yep.
He knew how to fix the RV. I didn't know. I've never had an RV. I didn't know there were two batteries underneath the steps.
Yep, because Dale had showed Glenn that. And he, at the farm, at Herschel's farm, and he said, you know, you never know when you might need to know that. And then here it is.
I'm glad I know that now in case I rented an RV and got drunk and peed on the steps. And the battery's right underneath there. That's a good little bit of information to have.
Mythbusters proved that wouldn't happen.
Really?
Yeah. That was one of the things, was peeing on an electric fence.
Yeah, I'll take their word for it. I'm not going to go out and try and disprove that at all. But at the same time that's going on, we've got our kind of like our makeup session with Michonne and Rick. And Michonne's saying, you know, the fight's over. Stop being a soldier. Let's go in. Let's become part of the community. And he kind of pays homage to Bob, who told him the same thing. You got to know when there's a fight. You got to know when it's time. Yeah, because we saw Rick go through this phase. He was the leader. He didn't want to be the leader. Then he was the farmer. Then he wouldn't pick up his gun. Then he went all barbarian over a course of a few episodes. Didn't he bite somebody's neck? Rip their neck out with his teeth?
Yeah, one of the claimers.
Yeah.
And he was seeing the ghost of his wife, all those prison scenes. Yeah, Rick's been through a lot. But,
so he kind of plays that back, what Bob said. So we paid homage to Bob. We paid homage to Dale. And we've already, he's already been asked the question, if you don't believe the pictures, you don't believe the words, what are you going to believe? And earlier he had said to Michonne, what did you hear before you went into Woodbury?
Nothing.
What did you hear before you went into Terminus?
Nothing.
And what do we hear? When he's in the car, he turns the engine off. You can faintly hear children playing.
Wow.
And they go in, and this ending could end the whole series right here.
They could have ended the show on that note.
Yeah. I mean, it was such a dramatic close to this episode. They could have just packed up shop right then and there, and that would have been it. You know, they found the home. They're done.
Or not.
Yeah, that's what...
the ending would be ambiguous.
That's my big... I want to go out on a limb and predict that there aren't that many people inside this community. I even want to say that the sounds of the children playing is a recording.
Right. I thought about that, too.
You think Rick is suspicious. You ain't seen me.
Because...
Yeah, but if it was...
Where are the people? Were those children? Maybe it was a recording.
The thing is, if it was and there was nobody there, they'd just blast their way out of there.
Yeah, well, they tried to take their guns away from them. And they say, if you're going to stay,
Tried.
if you're going to stay, you got to surrender your weapons. We ain't said we're staying yet. Oh, good answer.
Yeah.
But then you hear in the preview, you're going to have to talk to Deanna. She can answer all your questions. Here's the big thing. Who is Deanna?
Yeah.
She's not really in the comic books. But the man who's supposed to be in charge of the Alexandria Safe Zone, what is his name? Douglas something or another?
It's Douglas. But
Douglas Monroe, who is a former congressman from Ohio, and he was the leader of the Alexandria Free Zone when Rick and company came along, and eventually Rick became the leader because he just wasn't up to snuff. That's what happens in the comic book. But the comic book is very different because Andrea and Dale are an item. They're shagging, and they're a couple. Daryl didn't even exist in the comic book. And Judith didn't live to this point.
Right.
Oh, I forgot. I actually skipped over one little part before we get to this. Did you notice how Rick hid that gun in the blender? Beatrice just brought this up to me.
Okay, yeah, I didn't really understand that part.
Well, he hid a gun before he went to Terminus.
Oh, they dug some holes
Yeah,
and buried
they
some
they
guns.
hit a whole bunch of stuff before they went into Terminus.
Yeah, so he's not 100% convinced.
Okay.
And he
Yeah,
didn't
well,
even,
Carol's on his side too. By the way, did you notice what she said when they were getting ready
I
to
don't
go
remember
in?
the quote. Do you remember the quote?
Yeah, it was, Rick, you were wrong, but you were right.
Yeah.
And now, what did she mean by that? See, that confused me too.
Oh,
Well,
it meant that he was wrong in this particular instance, but he was right to be cautious.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Well, I was going to say they say, you've got to give up your weapons, right? Did they say that at the very end? And they
That
said
wasn't the end of the show, and it wasn't on the show's preview. I think it was on the Talking Dead's preview.
Okay, it was on the preview. Okay. All right.
And then they mentioned Deanna, and a lot of people are speculating that there is no Douglas Monroe who runs the Alexandria Free Zone. They think there's a gender swap, much like how they swapped Starbuck from male to female. Deanna.
Oh, they got a really good surgeon there, huh?
Oh, they'll fix Noah right up. He'll be running. He can already outrun everybody on the whole team with that bum leg. So
He'll be able to run in high heels.
oh my.
But
yes.
Yeah, Aaron.
Put on his potted dress.
Aaron definitely sounded like. I mean, he said the person who has to give approval is Deanna. So you think Deanna has got to be the leader.
Yeah, and
That's what it sounds like.
If there is no Douglas Monroe, then like a lot of people are speculating, and I think Beatrice found this article for me. A lot of people on the web are speculating they're going to pull a gender swap. Mm-hmm. And like I said before, not everything is going to play out the way it played out in the comics. So people that read the comics thinking it's going to play out a certain way, it may not, because in the comics they stay in this Alexandria Free Zone until now.
Oh, wow.
I mean, until now in the comics, and the comics started 5, 6, 7 years before the television show. They, in terms of the TV series, they would stay in this Alexandria Free Zone for the next 5 seasons.
Wow. I don't know about that.
Through getting invaded by larger communities, through having other people come and attack them, and killing Dale and a few others. Not Dale, I'm sorry, Glenn. The character Negan, who cracks his head open with the baseball bat. So you don't know how it's going to play out. Like I said, there wasn't even a Daryl in the comic books.
Right.
And
well, my whole thought about the show this week was this whole Alexandria Free Zone. All I kept thinking was, this is all too good to be true. And you know what they say about too good to be true? I mean, these beautiful houses, these perfectly manicured lawns, and It's too good to be true. This can't.
It's like an old sci-fi thing, like an old Outer Limits or an old Star Trek, where you go into paradise and then all of a sudden you go to sleep and this big spider comes and sucks your brain out or something.
Wow.
Like
To Serve Man is a cookbook.
Yeah,
Serve Man,
exactly.
yeah.
That was a good one.
I love that one. And then I saw on the preview for next week, how they wanted them to give up their weapons. Well, obviously they didn't give up their weapons because there's Daryl. And this was funny because you see Daryl sitting there with his crossbow and he looks so out of place.
In a brand new, clean, spick and span, probably $400,000 house. He's sitting in the hallway next to his crossbow, reeking of sludge.
Right. So out of his element.
But I have noticed with the previews are very deceiving. I mean, we thought that pack of wild dogs was going to take up half the episode, and then pop, they ate them.
And then obviously the boy Carl has his knife, so he's still got his knife. And then he's what's in the closet? It's like he's opening the closet.
If my prediction comes through, and there's only like a handful of people there. In the comics, there's supposed to be, I believe, 40 to 60 people, and they become part of the community, and they help fend off an attack from a group led by this governor-type guy. Actually, he makes the governor look like a kitty cat, who has like 400 or 500 people in his community. But this group's supposed to have close to either 60, 80, 100, something like that. But if they decide to throw a monkey wrench in there and throw off the comic fanboys, I believe we're going to see like 2 or 3 people, maybe the Doctor, Deanna, and Eric and Aaron, maybe some of the only people there. But that's just a prediction at this point.
Yeah.
And one last thing we got to talk about. Everybody wants to give me crap about the Walking Dead ratings. Everybody I talk to, well, the Grammys beat them. Just barely. And SNL 40 beat them. Just barely. And this past week, they went head-to-head with the Oscars and lost because, obviously, these shows are on network television. And I don't know the actual statistic, but how many people would you guess actually have cable compared to people that just have broadcast TV? Maybe 60, 65, 70%?
Yeah.
So we're looking at a much larger audience of people that have regular TV. But all these shows are taking huge hits.
Yeah, well, the thing is that February is rating sweeps month. That's how they set the advertising cost for the next season. So everybody puts on the shows that they think will garner in the greatest audience. Where The Walking Dead is just its normal series, except for opening night, which was also in February, in sweeps month. So once we hit March, you'll get a better idea.
Yeah, and plus they're not doing that bad. I mean, even though they're losing out to these shows head-to-head, they're still the highest-rated show on cable, which a cable show is probably only going to garnish so much advertising dollars. But the Oscars had their lowest ratings in 6 years. 8 million viewers off of last year.
Wow.
So The Walking Dead is actually taking a bite out of these huge mega shows, award shows, that are coming in every week. Hopefully this will be the last one for a while because I don't want to hear about the Oscars anymore.
Well, the thing is, what you should do is compare this night versus the Oscars versus last year against the Oscars. That's how you should do the comparison.
I'm going to have to try and
do it year on year.
I'm going to have to try and find that. But we're 30 seconds away from being cut off. Stay tuned. The American Idol show with Slim and Zip is coming up next. You can catch Wendy and myself every Sunday night, 8 o'clock at the Dirt Farmer Live Farmville Radio Show. And you can catch CB. You can catch CB every Monday at 10 o'clock on Off the Hook Radio. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope you have a great week and catch The Walking Dead.
Hi, LJ.
We got 5 seconds left. Say it again.
Hi, LJ.
Hey, LJ got his plug in. Good night, everybody.